The Galactic Council sat in the grandeur of its crystalline chamber, its domed ceiling reflecting the stars of 1,000 systems. Representatives from the most advanced civilizations in the galaxy convened to discuss the newest addition to their interstellar stage: humanity. Their arrival had sparked curiosity, but also doubt. "They are a fragile species," the Seraph delegate began, his mandibles clicking. "Their physiology is weak, their technology primitive. Their transmissions are rife with overtures of peace and cooperation. They fear war." The Avarian representative, a feathered being with piercing eyes, nodded. "Indeed, their history shows periods of conflict, but nothing to suggest they could survive the rigors of intergalactic warfare. Without biological enhancements or advanced weaponry, they are no match for a real threat." The Council's collective agreement was almost unanimous. War in the galaxy was not just conflict, it was annihilation. Species who could not adapt were swiftly eliminated, their civilizations reduced to ruins. The records of failed races stood as a grim reminder of the stakes. The Council prided itself on maintaining balance, ensuring no single species dominated too heavily, but humanity seemed an unlikely contender for anything beyond minor alliances. Still, some disagreed. A solitary figure, the Valoran ambassador, tilted their scaled head. "They are new, yes, but to dismiss them outright would be premature. We have seen surprising resilience in younger species before." The conversation shifted toward the pressing threat of the Xarn Empire, an expansionist force known for its ruthless conquest. Even the Council's seasoned militaries had struggled to hold their ground. If humanity wished to survive in this galaxy, they would need allies. A decision was made to send an envoy to Earth, both as an introduction and an invitation to join the Council's coalition against the Xarn. The envoy's arrival on Earth was met with open arms. Humans displayed a peculiar blend of curiosity and hospitality, traits that puzzled the delegation. They were escorted through bustling cities and shown wonders of human engineering, from skyscrapers to spacecraft. Yet, something was missing. Where were the warriors? The envoy found themselves immersed in discussions about diplomacy, trade, and cultural exchanges. Humanity seemed eager to learn, to collaborate, and above all, to avoid conflict. To the alien delegation, this confirmed the Council's initial assessment. Humans were averse to war, perhaps even terrified of it. But then came an unexpected mention, almost in passing, during a casual conversation with a human official. The term Marines surfaced, a word that carried an air of reverence, even among those who spoke it. When pressed for details, the official smiled cryptically and said, "You'll have to see for yourself." The envoy's curiosity was piqued. Perhaps humanity wasn't as simple as they had assumed. The Marine Corps training base was nothing like the clean, polished environments the envoy had experienced in Earth cities. Here, everything seemed raw, functional, and unyielding. The ground was scorched and uneven, the air thick with dust and sweat. Humans, clad in utilitarian gear, moved with precision and purpose, their expressions focused, their movements disciplined. As the delegation observed, they were struck by the stark contrast between these individuals and the civilians they had met earlier. These humans radiated an intensity that was almost palpable. They shouted commands, responded with crisp salutes, and carried themselves with an unshakable confidence. It was clear these were not diplomats or engineers, they were warriors. One of the instructors approached the envoy, a tall, weathered figure with a commanding presence. His voice carried an edge of challenge as he explained what they were witnessing. "This is where we break them down and build them back up. Out here, failure isn't an option. They learn to adapt, to overcome no matter the odds." The envoy watched as a group of trainees engaged in what appeared to be a live-fire drill. Explosions echoed in the distance, followed by bursts of gunfire. The humans moved with startling efficiency, covering each other, navigating harsh terrain with practiced ease. Their tactics were fluid, adaptable, almost instinctive. Every action seemed deliberate, designed to maximize effectiveness and minimize risk. "What drives them to endure this?" one of the alien representatives finally asked. The instructor's response was simple but revealing: survival. We don't fear conflict, we prepare for it. War's not something you run from, it's something you face head-on. The Envoy began to notice details that underscored this philosophy. Every piece of equipment, every maneuver, every command reflected a level of adaptability and ingenuity that was both practical and profound. The Marines didn't rely on brute strength or overwhelming numbers. Instead, they honed their skills, turning limitations into advantages. The humans were not just training their bodies, they were training their minds. Strategy, problem-solving, and resilience were as much a part of their regimen as physical endurance. The instructor proudly recounted stories of battles fought against overwhelming odds, where clever tactics and sheer determination had turned the tide. As the day progressed, the Envoy was invited to witness a simulated battle exercise. What unfolded was nothing short of extraordinary. The Marines used the terrain to their advantage, setting traps, creating diversions, and exploiting weaknesses in their enemy's formation. The opposing force, made up of more seasoned trainees, was systematically dismantled. It was a display of cunning and precision that left the delegation in stunned silence. By the end of their visit, the Envoy's perception had shifted dramatically. Humans didn't avoid war out of fear, they avoided it because they understood its cost better than most. But when pushed, when the stakes were highest, they were capable of a ferocity and brilliance that few could match. The term Marines now carried a weight that transcended words. It was a declaration. Humanity was far more than they had assumed. The Galactic Council colony on Radix Prime was in chaos. The Xarn Empire's fleet descended without warning, their ships blotting out the sun. Alien civilians fled in panic as the enemy forces began their ruthless assault, laying waste to buildings and infrastructure. The Council's defensive forces, though equipped with advanced technology, were overwhelmed by the sheer brutality of the Xarn. Cries for reinforcements echoed through the comm channels, but hope seemed distant. Amid the confusion, a transmission arrived. The response team wasn't what the Council had expected. It was the Marines. Their ships were crewed by galactic standards, retrofitted with Earth's characteristic pragmatism. They lacked the sleek designs and energy shields of their alien counterparts, but the confidence in the voices of the Marines left no room for doubt. "We'll handle it," the commanding officer said simply. When the Marines deployed, they moved with precision and purpose, a stark contrast to the panicked retreat of the other defenders. They didn't rush into battle blindly. Instead, they studied the battlefield, analyzing the Xarn's patterns, strengths, and weaknesses. Every move was deliberate, calculated. The alien soldiers fighting alongside them marveled at their calm under fire, a calm that bordered on unsettling. The Xarn underestimated the humans. Their strategy had always been to overwhelm with brute force, relying on the fear they instilled to break the morale of their enemies. But fear had no place among the Marines. As the first wave of Xarn troops approached, the humans struck with devastating efficiency. Precision artillery fire disrupted the enemy's advance, and small, highly mobile squads executed coordinated ambushes, targeting key commanders and supply lines. What the Xarn couldn't comprehend, and what the Council forces quickly realized, was that the Marines thrived in chaos. They adapted to every change in the battlefield, turning disadvantages into opportunities. When the Xarn shifted tactics, so did the Marines. When supplies ran low, they scavenged and improvised. Their resilience was unmatched, their determination unshakable. The turning point came when a Marine unit infiltrated the Xarn command center. Using a combination of stealth, diversion, and raw audacity, they eliminated the enemy leadership in one swift, decisive strike. The Xarn forces, now leaderless and disorganized, began to falter. Seizing the moment, the Marines launched a coordinated counteroffensive, driving the enemy back with relentless force. By the time the Xarn retreated, the battlefield bore the scars of a hard-fought victory. Smoke rose from craters, shattered weapons lay strewn across the ground, and the once mighty Xarn war machines were little more than twisted wreckage. The Marines, battered but unbroken, stood as a testament to humanity's tenacity. For the first time, the alien forces fighting alongside them began to see humanity not as fragile or fearful, but as a force capable of standing against the galaxy's greatest threats. The Xarn had been defeated, not by superior technology or numbers, but by the sheer will and ingenuity of the Marines. The aftermath of the battle left the colony in ruins, but the sense of despair had been replaced by something unfamiliar: hope. The Marines were not the type to celebrate victory with fanfare. Instead, they moved seamlessly from warriors to caretakers, assisting with evacuation efforts, tending to the injured, and helping rebuild critical infrastructure. Their actions spoke louder than words. Humanity's strength wasn't limited to war. It extended to compassion and responsibility. The aliens who had fought alongside them watched in silent awe. The same humans who had displayed such calculated ferocity on the battlefield now showed unmatched empathy. A Marine helped an elderly alien sift through rubble to find sentimental belongings. Another shared their rations with displaced civilians, ensuring they ate before the Marines themselves did. These small acts of kindness were as transformative as their triumph in combat. When the Galactic Council reconvened, the atmosphere was markedly different. The same voices that had dismissed humanity as fragile were now filled with reluctant admiration. Reports of the battle painted a vivid picture of the Marines' resourcefulness and courage. What struck the Council most was not just their military prowess but their unyielding resolve to protect. "They are unlike anything we have encountered," the Valorn ambassador said, their voice calm but resolute. "They do not seek war, yet they do not cower from it. They do not conquer, yet they will not be conquered. They fight not for glory, but because they believe it is their duty to shield those who cannot defend themselves." A debate ensued. Some feared humanity's unpredictability, worried what such a determined species might become if provoked. But the majority saw an opportunity, a rare chance to welcome allies who embodied the very traits the Council had long sought but seldom found: bravery tempered by empathy, strength guided by purpose. Meanwhile, the Marines' commander, unaware of the political discussions unfolding, shared a moment of reflection with the Envoy. "You asked why we train the way we do," the commander said, their gaze fixed on the horizon. "It's not because we love war. Hell, no one in their right mind does. But we know it's out there, just waiting whether we like it or not. And if it's coming for us, we're damn well gonna make sure it regrets the trip." The Envoy, who had once regarded humanity as a curious but harmless species, now saw them in a new light. Humans were not fearless. They had simply learned to master their fear. Their strength didn't come from advanced technology or genetic modifications, but from a deep, unshakable belief in their ability to endure and prevail. The story of the Marines spread quickly, becoming legend among the Council's member species. They were no longer seen as fragile newcomers but as protectors, warriors who wielded their strength with care and purpose. The Marines had not just earned respect, they had reshaped the galaxy's understanding of what it meant to be human.